Imagine two people in a library which has a window. One person wants the window open to be able to get some fresh air, while the other wants the window remain closed because of drafts and papers fluttering around. Instead of arguing back and forth, they start talking about why they want it open or closed. Once they understand each other's needs, they come up with a clever solution. They open a window in a nearby room, and this way one person gets the fresh air they want and the other doesn't have to deal with the drafts. This simple shift in approach, from battling over positions to understanding interests, can be applied to disagreements in business, family, or even with friends. By focusing on the needs behind the demand, principled negotiation helps people find solutions that feel fair and satisfying for everyone, turning tough conversations into powerful partnerships. A successful negotiation is all about finding a way to solve arguments or disagreements that helps everyone feel good about the outcome. When people disagree, it's like a tug-of-war where both sides pull to get what they want. Sometimes both sides can get what they want if they talk in a friendly way and try to solve the problem together. This is called principled negotiation, which means finding a fair solution without making anyone feel like they've lost. The book, Getting to Yes, introduces this concept of principled negotiation, which aims to secure agreements that benefit all parties and avoid the pitfalls of traditional bargaining. The authors Roger Fisher and Bruce Patton developed this approach at the Harvard Negotiation Project, intending to create a system that can work in various situations, whether business deals, family, or any international diplomacy. The bulk of Getting to Yes revolves around the four main principles of principled negotiation, which are as follows. Separate the people from the problem. The first principle emphasizes that negotiators are human and their emotions, values, and perceptions can often interfere with objective decision-making. To avoid conflict, negotiators should separate their personal relationships from the issues at hand. Misunderstandings often arise because people see the world differently. Negotiators should understand and acknowledge the other party's perspective, and to resolve conflicts based on perception, discuss each party's views openly and objectively. Emotions can cloud judgment and escalate tensions. That is why it is crucial for both parties to recognize and manage their emotions and those of the other side. Expressing emotions and using active listening can help reduce tension and allow the conversation to focus on the issue itself. Effective communication is also essential. Miscommunication often leads to frustration, especially when one party is too focused on responding rather than listening. The recommendation is to improve listening skills, speaking directly to the issue, and framing points in a manner that is non-confrontational. For example, in a labor negotiation, a factory faced a tense standoff between management and workers over wages. The workers demanded a pay raise to meet the rising cost of living, while management insisted they couldn't afford it without risking the factory's financial stability. Instead of digging into their positions, that is, higher wages versus keeping costs low, both sides decided to discuss their underlying interests. Management was open about their interest in keeping the factory profitable, and the workers explained their need for financial security. Together, they brainstormed and came up with a creative solution. Instead of an immediate raise, the company offered a bonus program tied to productivity, allowing workers to earn more as the factory's profitability increased. This approach satisfied both parties, helping the workers earn more while keeping the factory financially secure. By focusing on their real needs rather than just their positions, they found a win-win solution that built trust and fostered teamwork. The lesson is clear. Instead of blaming the other side for being unreasonable, parties should talk about their shared goal while discussing specific disagreements subjectively. Focus on interests, not positions. The second principle argues that focusing on interests rather than positions is crucial for finding a solution that satisfies all parties. Positions are often rigid, but interests, that is, the underlying needs, desires, and concerns that motivate people, are usually more flexible. Bargaining based on positions can create adversarial relationships. each party locks themselves into a certain stance or position, and the negotiation becomes a battle over who will concede more. Instead, it is better to focus on understanding why someone holds a particular position by exploring their underlying interests. Interests are the reasons behind positions. To uncover these, negotiators can ask questions like, "Why do you want that?" or "What is your concern?" Interests typically relate to basic human needs such as security, economic well-being, recognition, or control over one's destiny. Once the parties' interests are clear, it becomes easier to find common ground. Even if the positions seem opposed, the underlying interests may be compatible or complementary. For example, in a workplace dispute over salary, an employee asks for a raise, but the employer hesitates, worried about budget constraints and setting a precedent. The employee's request sounds straightforward, a higher salary, but it turns out there is more behind it. When the manager asks why the employee wants a raise, they learn that the employee actually seeks recognition for their hard work and long hours, along with a sense of job security. Instead of focusing only on the dollar amount, they discuss other ways to meet these needs. The manager offers a title promotion, flexible hours, and a path to future raises which satisfy the employee's desire for recognition and stability without straining the budget. By addressing the employee's true interests, not just the demand for more pay, both parties leave the discussion satisfied. Invent options for mutual gain. The third principle emphasizes the importance of creativity in negotiations. Oftentimes, people limit themselves to a narrow set of possible solutions, assuming that a deal can only involve a simple compromise between two positions. Instead, the authors advocate brainstorming to generate a wide range of options that can satisfy both parties' interests. Many negotiators assume there is a fixed amount of resources like money, benefits, etc. to be divided between the parties. This is known as the fixed pie mindset. Instead, the better kind of negotiations often allow for expanding the pie, where both sides can achieve more by working together creatively. To be able to do this, the negotiators should engage in brainstorming sessions, where they generate multiple options before deciding on a final agreement. This also helps in overcoming the constraints of positional thinking. After this, negotiators should actively seek solutions that allow both sides to gain more. These are often found when each party can concede on less important issues while getting more of what they truly want on crucial matters. By agreeing on fair external criteria such as market value, legal precedent, or industry standards, negotiators can craft solutions that feel legitimate and reasonable to all sides. For example, two companies negotiating a merger might initially argue over stock distribution. Both sides were stuck in a deadlock over how much control each would retain. One company wanted to ensure its brand identity would stay prominent, while the other was primarily focused on expanding into new markets. Instead of fighting over who would win in the terms of control, they used principal negotiation to uncover each side's real interest. By shifting their focus from rigid demands to these deeper needs, they found a creative solution. The merged company would keep the brand identity of one company intact, appealing to existing customers, while adopting the other's established sales network to reach new markets. This approach satisfied both sides' goals, allowing the merger to go through smoothly and turning the partnership into a win-win. Insist on objective criteria. The final principle focuses on the use of objective standards to guide the negotiation process. Rather than haggling over subjective demands, negotiators should base their agreements on fair, objective measures. Objective criteria means definite and measurable metrics and can include things like market values, legal standards, industry practices, or scientific measures. By using objective benchmarks, negotiators reduce the risk of biased or arbitrary decisions. A critical part of this principle is for both parties to agree on what constitutes fair criteria. If one side suggests using market value as a measure, and the other prefers historical cost. Both parties should work together to select the most reasonable standard. Once objective criteria are agreed upon, negotiators should apply them consistently. This ensures that the resulting agreement is grounded in fairness and is easier to justify to all involved. For example, let's say two friends are negotiating the price for a used bike. Instead of haggling over each other's opinions on the bike's worth, they could look up its current market value on a reputable site or use a bike resale guide. By agreeing to base the price on an outside standard, they take the pressure off each other and make the negotiation fairer and more logical. This way, the negotiation doesn't feel like a battle. It's more about reaching a fair outcome both can accept. Using objective criteria helps both sides feel that the final decision is grounded on fairness and not on personal bias. This principle is especially helpful in business, legal negotiations, or even dividing family inheritances, as it helps keep the conversation constructive and impartial. In addition to the core principles of negotiation, Getting to Yes also provides strategies for dealing with difficult parties who may not be interested in principled negotiation. What if they won't play? Sometimes the other party refuses to engage in principled negotiation and insists on sticking to their position. The authors of Getting to Yes suggest using a strategy called negotiation jujitsu. Much like martial arts, where you can use your opponent's energy against them, negotiation jujitsu involves redirecting the other person's aggressive or stubborn tactics back towards solving the problem and not on fighting. Here's how it works. Don't push back directly. Instead of arguing with the other person's demands, deflect their position, and when they try to make you react emotionally, stay calm and avoid direct confrontation. Ask questions instead of attacking. Rather than arguing, ask open-ended questions that make the other person explain their reasoning. For example, if they say, "This is our final offer," you could ask, "What makes that the best solution for you?" Questions keep the conversations open and encourage them to explain rather than just demand. Redirect criticism to the problem, not the person. If the other party starts to criticize, don't respond defensively. Instead, shift the focus back to finding a solution. For instance, if they accuse you of being unreasonable, respond by asking, "How can we both achieve what we need here?" Negotiation jujitsu helps avoid escalating conflict by turning the other person's stubbornness into an opportunity for collaboration. By staying focused on problem solving rather than reacting to pressure tactics, you guide the negotiation toward a more cooperative and fair outcome. What if they use dirty tricks? Some negotiators employ tactics designed to deceive or coerce. These might include deliberate misrepresentation, psychological pressure, or manipulative ploys. Identifying these tactics openly and calling attention to them is crucial before proceeding. Here are a few ways to do so effectively. Recognize the trick. The first step is to be aware of when someone is using a dirty trick. These tricks can take many forms, such as misleading information, making false promises, or using good cop, bad cop tactics to throw you off balance. Being able to recognize these tricks allows you to respond calmly and effectively rather than getting caught off guard. Address it directly. Once you spot the tactic, call it out calmly. If you think someone is trying to manipulate the conversation, ask them about it in a non-confrontational way. Simply pointing out what you see can be enough to make them stop or adjust their approach, especially if they realize you won't be easily misled. Don't get defensive. It's essential not to fall into the trap of reacting emotionally. Stay focused on your own goals and interests rather than getting sidetracked by the tactic. By remaining calm, you prevent the other party from gaining control over the situation through intimidation or distraction. Insist on principled negotiation. If the other person continues to use tricks, remind them of the goal, a fair agreement that benefits both sides. Reframing the negotiation as a collaborative problem-solving exercise can sometimes shift their mindset. If not, you may need to walk away knowing you have a strong alternative to avoid accepting a bad deal. BATNA, best alternative to a negotiation agreement. The concept of BATNA, or best alternative to a negotiated agreement, is a key idea in getting to yes. BATNA is essentially the backup plan or the best outcome you can turn to if negotiations don't work out in your favor. Knowing your BATNA gives you strength in negotiation because it sets a clear threshold. If the agreement on the table isn't better than your alternative, you're free to walk away. It allows you to negotiate without feeling pressure to accept a bad deal. Imagine you're negotiating a job offer. You want a higher salary, but the employer is reluctant to increase their offer. If you have another job offer lined up or savings that allow you to wait for a better role, that's your BATNA. If the employer's final offer isn't as good as your alternative, you're prepared to walk away. Knowing this gives you a strong position, as you won't feel pressure to accept a low offer simply because you lack alternatives. Having a strong BATNA is empowering. It prevents you from accepting less than you deserve just to reach an agreement. When you know you have a viable alternative, you negotiate with confidence and clarity. Without it, you're at risk of feeling forced to accept a weak deal simply because you feel like there's no other option. Conversely, if the other side has a strong BATNA and you don't, then they'll have the advantage as they have more power to walk away. How to develop your BATNA? There are 3 steps for creating a strong alternative. List all possible alternatives. Brainstorm everything you could do if the current negotiation doesn't work out. This could include other job offers, other potential clients, or different ways to meet your goals independently. Evaluate each alternative. Assess the pros and cons of each option. Which alternatives are realistic and which would actually help you if you walked away from the current negotiation. Select your best alternative. After evaluating, choose the option that would give you the best outcome. This is your BATNA, the plan you can rely on if the negotiation stalls or goes poorly. In short, your alternative is the best option available if you can't reach an agreement. By knowing and developing it, you gain powerful negotiating tool, giving you the flexibility to pursue what's best for you without settling for less.